Good afternoon, here from New Zealand. Oh my gosh, as the Wicked Witch of the West said, I'm melting. It's such a warm, hot day here in New Zealand. I feel like I'm about to pass out. I'm going to be pretty quick about all of this. Okay, so you will find the start time for this video or live stream down in the description once YouTube publishes it and I get a chance to actually go through it and make sure it's there. Okay. Now, for those of you who want to access the live stream later on, unless you have subscribed to my channel, hit the bell button and turned on notifications, you won't be able to access the live stream. So that's the easiest way to do that. Otherwise, being a patron is a good way of dealing with getting access to the live streams, which I suggest you consider doing. But you don't have to, because I do present a edited version of all of my live streams later on. I just cut out all of the Q&A and questions and answers and feedback that is involved in the live stream. So it's a much shorter version. Okay, now if you haven't ever been part of my live streams, normally I would not be melting quite as badly as this, but normally what I do is I present everything first, the topic, and then I give you some slides, and then at the very end I will open it up, so don't run away, and we'll have a discussion whether you have something to say or add, or you have some questions. Doesn't have to be related to the topic, but it could be. It's up to you. Okay, all right, I need to get going. Now, if there's any problem with the sound and the video, you better say real quickly because I'm about to start. I don't really want to take too long doing this. All right, sound seems fine. Okay, and we're ready to go. Lining up. Hi, welcome to HowtoDandD. My name is Fred Wheeler, and today I want to talk about Dungeons and Dragons. Not necessarily Dungeons and Dragons 5e, could be any version of Dungeons and Dragons, could be a role-play game, but really this is about gaining attention. The first thing, this is the question for today and topic, getting your Dungeons and Dragons players' attention. It's one of the things that most Dungeon Masters have to deal with at some point in their career or the time they spend as a Dungeon Master, so how do you do it? I want to start off with just quickly just covering why people get distracted, and then give you some practical tools that I have used myself and a few other people that I know have used. And I'm going to give you sort of a rundown roughly of sort of how successful they were or what to expect from using them. Okay, so Dungeons and Dragons players can get distracted for many reasons. I want to just cover roughly, I would say, 9 different reasons that I know of. The first one is dealing with the nerd talk. That's the off-topic discussions that take place about Lord of the Rings, sci-fi stuff, and anything else they can think of. I have a friend who likes to talk about history, can't help himself, it's sort of his passion, and therefore we wind up with a lot of discussion around that. I've already done a video on how to deal with off-topic discussions if you're interested. Number 2 would be the horseplay and the goofing off, because usually Dungeons and Dragons about a time to get together and just blow off steam. So often you'll get a lot of people who will goof off, tell a few jokes, and just generally try to have fun. And that can go on for quite a long time. Certainly number 3, with the technology that we have today, that's the electronic devices at the table. That's your cell phone, your laptops, your tablets, and every other thing you can possibly think of that somebody might be able to bring to the table that's portable. And a lot of people have brought a lot of different devices to tables over the years. This is one that usually gets a lot of people's goat, and that is the spotlight hogs. This is the person who hogs the spotlight. It has to be all about them, and they have just decided that you've provided them with an audience. Yay! And now they are going to give you everything they can possibly think of, because they now have a captured audience sitting at the table. Number 5 would be the poor social graces. This is the Beavis and Butthead experience. We know what we're talking about. There are various versions of the Beavis and Butthead players. These are people who just don't know how to communicate with people in any kind of forum, and seem to have lost any sort of ability to communicate in a gentile manner. Then you've got a few players that are just bored. Now, when I talk about boredom, Just because a player is bored is not necessarily a reflection of the Dungeon Master and what they are doing. Sometimes it's just all about the player and they've decided to go into your bathroom and paint the wall. Or whatever else they can think of, just because they have nothing better to do. But it usually involves picking up electronic devices, or just wandering off, or just not showing up. But usually if they're not showing up, it's not quite as distracting as having them at the table doing something else. Number 7 would be the not socially active enough during the week. For whatever reason, this person is a hermit crab and has spent most of their time communicating through electronic devices, computers, but not with real people, and therefore suddenly they are now got a group of people around them and they just need to unload. They need to have some sort of social connection and they just can't stop themselves. They've been deprived so much. Number 8 is the legitimate life or real life emergencies. So yes, when the house is burning down, it is perfectly reasonable that your players will be distracted and therefore be picking up their phone and trying to figure out what to do next, and running out the door and rushing around in a panic or whatever it is that might be happening. Or it might have to do with the kids, because often when it comes to real life emergencies, it's usually around what's going on with the kids, right? Number 9 is very common for a lot of people, and that is the personal life stress, whether that be problems at work, family, bills, debt, everything you can imagine, personal health. These can impact on somebody and distract them when they're playing the game. Now, I would say that the last two, so your emergencies and your personal life stress, are those sorts of aspects that you should sort of be pretty lenient with. And also, when I'm talking about how to get a Dungeons & Dragons player attention, I would like to point out that my advice does not go as far as giving you advice on how to deal with family members and friends. That is a different story. You are an adult, you have to make the decision yourself. Talking to somebody and taking somebody else's advice on the internet who has no idea of the situation you're dealing with is not wise. It's like talking to somebody who has nothing to lose. Essentially, they've got nothing to lose with regard to the relationship you have with your family or friends. So I would like to point out, don't take advice when it comes to those sorts of things. If it's people you don't really know, it's a very different story. Okay, let's start off with, how does a Dungeon Master get their players' attention when they are trying to run the Dungeons & Dragons game? I would like to point out, this is not so much a prevention. This video is about dealing with intervention. We're intercepting the problem. We're not trying to avoid the problem. So I'm not talking about trying to make your game more interesting so that they pay attention. That's prevention. What I'm talking about is intervention, which is a different thing again. Okay, so number 1, ask your players to focus on you. That's the Dungeon Master. And I don't suggest that you sit down there and beg like a dog. Okay, that have some dignity, but simply asking them to just focus on you, bring the conversation and their attention back to the game and the Dungeon Master so you can start talking. Often this will look like somebody interrupting you. You're trying to speak as a Dungeon Master and somebody will get distracted and sort of try to talk over the top of you. Okay, number 2 is when you're dealing with off-topic discussions, engage in that off-topic discussion deliberately, trying to become the center focus for the off-topic discussion, and then pull your group back into the game session. It's the easiest way to deal with off-topic discussions, I find. All right, number 3 I found useful over the years, and that is to simply stand up at the game table. Now, whether you decide to stand the entire time during your game session, if you are tough enough and strong enough and energetic enough to stand at the table the whole time, go for it. But just standing up from a sitting position brings the focus onto you. I don't suggest that you start dancing on the table. Rackwell Welch is an expert, and who knows how strong your table is, whether it can support your weight when you start to jump on there and dance around. Okay, let's deal with number 3. This is a little bit of the prevention side of things, but I want to use it like an intervention, and that is, number 4 is present something crazy in your Dungeons & Dragons game. All it needs to be is a sentence or 2, and say it loudly. Don't say it quietly. Speak up. Let people hear you. So I think of Rick and Morty and Faulty Towers, a lot of British comedies. So do something crazy, out of the ordinary, something that you wouldn't necessarily have put in your game that you know will surprise your players. I've talked about developing surprise and storytelling in another video, so that's kind of related to this. Another technique that I have used, and that's number 5, is put out a battle map and monster miniatures and just start a combat. Don't explain yourself, just put out the miniatures, and then they'll start asking questions and you'll say, a purple worm showed up, roll initiative, there's a battle. They don't have to have any context for it whatsoever. If you feel you must, that's fine, that's up to you. But my suggestion is, lay it out, don't say anything. Number 6 is dress up in costume to attract your players' awe. Now the great thing about dressing up in costume, as we know, there's a lot of people who like cosplay, LARPing. Here I've got a picture of Matt Mercer. Now you can be guaranteed that Matt Mercer has probably got everybody's attention for the entire session, not just the single situation you're dealing with. You might find that dressing up in costume at your table will give you a lot of prevention and intervention for the entire session. It won't be just a single situation. I've found that really useful. One of the techniques that I like a lot. Number 7 is wear an unusual hat. As the cat is wearing an unusual hat, it's worked for me for years. I wear a hat when I'm dungeon mastering, and for some reason everybody is sort of always confused by the reason, why am I wearing a hat at the table? It suddenly becomes the discussion focus, which means I am now the center of the focus for when I need it to be, and I can drive the table in the direction that I need to when we're starting to play the game. If you like to use music, this is number 8. Play atmospheric music that you have in the background very loudly, like so loud people cannot talk over it. And then turn it down when the players are focused on you, the dungeon master, because you were controlling the knob, right? You're the one who was turning the knob and making it so loud. I'm not suggesting that you turn it up and cause them to have their ears bleed, but turn it up nice and loud. Number 9, tell a funny joke. If you want to get somebody's attention, the best way to do that is to tell a funny joke. Robin Williams is an expert in the area. I don't expect that you be a Robin Williams, but let's get real. People like jokes. Just don't tell a dad joke. Tell like a good joke if you can help it. Number 10, slam that book down on the table. Find the biggest, heaviest book you can and just bang it down on the table. I would like to point out that we are now entering the zone where things have got out of control and you really aren't able to control the table. Okay? Only thing to remember is hang on to the book. Don't let it go. Okay? If you wind up with the book flying out of your hands and walloping somebody in the head, you certainly will have got their attention, but you may have knocked them out, and also too caused a whole lot of trauma and problems at the table as well. So the only intention is to slam the book on the table, not into somebody's face. Number 11, and that is, as I said, we are now entering the zone of we are out of control and the table cannot be brought back to you without doing something extreme, and that is say shut up as loud as you can. Now, sometimes you don't need to say it loud. Sometimes you're dealing with somebody who's quite a passive individual, and so just telling them to shut up if they continue to talk when you've asked them to stop talking and you've tried all these other techniques, then this can be sort of done by just saying it quietly. I would like to point out, when it comes to saying shut up, which I have used at my table, it doesn't go down well. That's one of the big consequences of doing that, is it never goes down well with players. They're always offended, even if they should be shutting up, and it doesn't always work, but it can work sometimes. I have had people who I've said, look, you need to just shut up, and they've told me, no, I'm not going to shut up, this is far more interesting, I'm going to talk about this. Seriously, that's happened at my table. I know what it's like, so if you've experienced it, yeah, it does happen. Okay, let's deal with number 12. Ask that distracted or distracting player to leave the table till they are ready to play the game. That's right, you pull out the red card and flag them. This is hard to do with, as I said, hard to do with somebody who's a family or friends. Even I'm saying shut up. That's always difficult, okay, when you're dealing with family and friends, because you're crossing a boundary that is established. Okay, number 13 is ban the use of electronic devices at your table. If that's the problem, ban them. But good luck to you. This is the age of technology where everybody seems to want to use a cell phone or laptops or tablets. Don't grab the phone, chuck it in the toilet and flush it, okay? Probably not, you'll get their attention, but it won't go down well. All right, next one. Pick up your gear and go home. Yes, I've done this twice. The first time, I literally packed up my gear, people were not going to quiet down, and I just went home. It was a rough deal for me. I felt really bad about it. Every time you do this, every time you wind up having to ask somebody to leave the table, or packing up your gear in particular and going home, as ET has gone home, phone home, go home. Look, you always look like the bad guy. It always comes off as you are the one who's overreacted. But there are situations where you're just wasting your time. And of course you could just stick around and just let them talk and then go off and do something else or just join in. But if you don't want to do that and you just want to be there to play the game, then just pack up your gear and go home. The second time I did it, it shocked my players so much. They were highly offended, and the end result for me was a lot of people never messed around with me ever again, and a couple of people left. They were easily replaced in my case, but you can be guaranteed that some people will be offended by this. One of the great things about peer pressure that we knew about in school is it works effectively. So never underestimate, this is your last one, this is your last intervention, never underestimate the power of peer pressure. That's the other players at the table who are not distracting and not getting distracted. As a dungeon master, enlist their help. Get them to help control and manage the table. It should not just be down to the dungeon master to manage adults' behavior and even teenagers. You know, you're on the cusp of becoming young adults. There is some sort of contract and decorum required when you enter into a group. It's not a free-for-all party, unless of course there's alcohol involved, then maybe it is. Look, that's my advice to you. As I've said before, if you're dealing with family and friends, you need to be very careful about implementing any of these techniques, because I'm not going to provide you with advice around that. You as an adult have to make that final decision yourself. If you found this video useful, great. There's another video called telling good stories, or telling great Dungeons and Dragons stories, which is kind of related to this video, so I suggest checking that out if you're interested. If you are interested in my content, I have advice for players and dungeon masters, just general advice and rules advice if you are interested. If you want to support the channel so I keep doing stuff like this, then you can check me out on Patreon. I have affiliate links to the book depository and Amazon down in the description. I have a merchandise shelf underneath all of my videos. Make sure to share, like and subscribe. Hit the bell button to be notified when I go live and when I publish new videos. And hey, till next time, keep rolling those 20s. Bear with me. I'm not gone. I'm just melting. I feel very warm. Okay, the camera needs to come back to me. We'll do that. For those of you who are wondering what this image is that I've put onto the screen right this very second, this is cricket. This is the All Blacks game, and somebody decided to go streaking across the field and have a chat with the players. We're all familiar with streakers. This one decided that the only thing they were going to wear was a hat. Certainly got everybody's attention. All right. Where is my face? There we go. There's me showing up on the screen. That's good news. All right, so throw out your questions and I will let you have a chat with me about whatever you like to talk about. All right. Whew, it's so warm. I do need to drink though. I need to have some water before I start to pass out. Are the glasses helping today? No, apparently the glasses are not helping me today. So much for that. We'll get rid of them. And I'm going to go through this very, very fast. Where is it? Come on, come on. Where are you? I can't see the chat. It's disappeared. It's looks like no, there it is. It's back again. Oh, well done. Okay, Be Saucy. Hello, how's it going, Be Saucy? Hi, Caleb. It's been a while since I've been here. Yep, it's been a while, Caleb. I do remember. Look, it's the holiday season, right? A lot of people are only sort of just getting back into work and so forth. I totally get it. Go do the things that you enjoy. Right now, I'm absolutely cooking in my office, so I'm going to be fast as I can. But by all means, ask plenty of questions. Be Saucy has said my sound is fine. Thank God for that. Looks fine. Hi, Cameron. How's it going? Hi, Big Kid. How's it going, mate? So I did a D&D party for my daughter and 7 of her friends who have never played. Yeah, it went like you expected. Yeah, mate. Sometimes you can't change the fact that you're dealing with young kids, and you know a lot of the advice that I give is not really designed. My videos aren't designed for children. You know, YouTube is that 13 plus or 14 plus or whatever it is. So it's not really, the content's not designed for them. A lot of the advice that you can give in terms of dealing with children, look, all I can say is keep your sessions very short and try to find things that allow you to transition from one thing to the next quickly. Strip away a lot of the rules. That's all I could say. Overboard DMs here. Hi Joe, how's it going? I didn't get a chance to see your current videos that you've put up, but I like the fact that you're pumping out more videos than I am, Joe. Hi Mike, how's it going? Is that Stuckless? Mike Stuckless. Hi Fred, how's it going? 5 minutes. 5 minutes late. Well, 5 minutes late is better than being completely late, Fred. I can't think of anything else to say other than that. Joe's happy with my advice, so I'm glad it was useful to somebody. Be Saucy. It's frozen? I'm not sure. No, if I was... look, I could do with an air conditioner in my house, but I don't have one. It would be pointless. I've got no insulation in my house. That's half the problem. I need to put insulation in the ceilings and the walls, and then it would solve a lot of my issues. I've put the insulation in the floor, but that's only one area. What Big Kid? Frozen for a couple of secs, but continued. Oh, the live stream froze? Well, let's hope that YouTube hasn't botched it up again, because there have been a lot of technical issues. They've been going from classic to studio, and with the new rollout, with the new stuff they're putting out, it has created a few problems. I have noticed it. I'm sure you have too. And it will affect something like a live stream. Hopefully it hasn't interfered with the content that I was talking about. I will watch it later on and find out anyway. Thank you for letting me know though. Grey Dawn. Hi Grey Dawn. You like the advice? Oh good. What's that, Joe? That sucks that you had to pack up and leave. Must have been a bad time. Sorry you went through that. I was running, as a lot of people might know, I used to run a lot of public games. This is not a home game. This is a public game. And sometimes when you're dealing with people who are playing in a public game, they don't really know you. You don't really know them. They come into the game. They have no expectations. They don't really know what the ground rules are. Even though public play has ground rules, nobody reads the rules though. Nobody actually pays attention to the Dungeons and Dragons Adventurers League Code of Conduct. And so therefore, unless you spell it out, and of course if you don't have people who will allow you to actually talk about it, you're never going to get there. And usually when people come into a public game, they don't want to talk about code of conduct, they just want to play the game. So if you're saying, oh, you need to be doing this and this and this and this and this, they like switch off. But the expectation has always been with public games is that you have read the code of conduct for your gaming store, because gaming stores have a code of conduct as well, and also the Dungeons and Dragons Adventurers League. That's where it happened. But it's all right, you know, it happens sometimes. And I don't generally have to worry about it nowadays because I don't do public games. Morgan the Crow, hi. I am what? Laughing and taking it serious all at once. Well, I had to have a bit of a jest along the way. Otherwise, it's a bit hard to sort of do a topic like this. Big Kid, call a person out to by name works best for me because people don't generally like having their type of negative focus on them. Yeah, well look, I've never been particularly fond of taking people away from the group and talking about issues that are occurring at the table. I feel like if there's an issue at the table, it needs to be discussed there. But I don't discuss everything. That's the only thing. I don't always deal with it that way. There have been times when I have been quite happy with what's been going on, but it's been another player who's been unhappy with what's been going on in terms of people distracting others or interfering with the gameplay. And then I will have to address it, and usually that takes place away from the group. Unless, of course, it happens again, then I would deal with it right then and there if I can. Michelle, hi Michelle. I'm sorry you missed it, Michelle. I'm really sorry. I can't do anything about YouTube. Their notifications are set up only a particular way. What do you got here, John? I will only play with mature people. If the player is not mature and disrespectful of the game is over. Okay. Well, look, that's your, John, that's how you manage your table, and that's fine. I completely understand that, but not everybody. I would like to see kids from 5 upward playing the game. I would like to see everybody playing the game. I like the idea of Dungeons and Dragons being like playing Monopoly and other games that we've been playing for years, Snakes and Ladders. I would like it to be mainstream. Part of the reason why I do this channel in the first place. Right, I need to be a bit quicker because there's too many people writing stuff. All right, be saucy. How strange is too strange? In the hat department, mate, there's nothing that is too strange. If it does the job and gets their attention, do it. And I have a lot of hats, as people know. I wear this one most of the time, but I've got a video on why I wear hats. So yeah, if you want to check that out, you can. Give you an example of some of the things I have worn. Hi Todd. How do you prevent metagaming at the gaming table? Okay, well, look, the thing is, you can't. I've already talked about metagaming. I got a video on the topic. You can't stop players metagaming at the table. As soon as you put in something to stop them metagaming, they simply find another way of doing it. Unless you've got a player who really does not care what happens to their character, and they're happy for the game to have a positive or a negative outcome. If the conclusion to the adventure is disaster and they're fine with that, or success and parties and celebrations and victory, then that's good too. But that's another topic in itself, and I have already done a video on that. I think it is Metagaming the hairy balls out of Dungeons and Dragons, and literally I think the thumbnail has what is it, Captain Kirk holding hairy balls. So try that video, okay? Joseph, hi Joseph, about to finish DMing Strahd. Okay, sounds like a lot of fun. How do you handle the epilogue? Okay, I know spoilers. Look, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Thanks for the vids. Here's the thing. I did what was in the book, and I can guarantee you, if you end the adventure like it suggests in the book, your players will feel a little bit robbed. But the next response I got from them, Joseph, was they totally understood what was going on. The only difference is there was a little bit of a twist because one of my players decided to stay in Barovia, okay? And because of that, the adventure played out with 2 different endings. And I told the players both endings. One applied to one of the players and the other ending applied to the rest of the group. And there was essentially a 3rd ending which I only sort of insinuated but never actually spelled out. So I had essentially, I guess, 3 different endings. That's really all I can say about that. I suppose I should do a video on it. But Joseph, I've been working on how to use dark humour in The Curse of Strahd. I've been working on another video as well, but I think it's going to be how to use dark humour in your Dungeons and Dragons game, particularly for the Curse of Strahd, because it's quite important. The epilogue, now that you mention it, maybe I should do it sooner rather than later. Hi, what have I got here, Fred? I just created the deity Meta, a keeper of forbidden knowledge. I intend to plop out, what was it? Plop out his sheet and let the players see his OP beyond all reason, statted legendary actions. Fred, that sounds amusing. I would like to see their expression when that happens. What do you got here, Cameron? What do you feel about a player wanting to bring in previous player characters into a new original game world? The only time I would allow that is if it's the same level as everybody else that I'm starting at. So I know some players are happy to have their character level back. Other players will say, oh, I'm starting a new campaign, we're all going to be level 1, and somebody says, yeah, but I've got a level 8 or a level 5 character. Can I just play that level 5 or 8 character that I've been playing before? Usually I won't allow that because ultimately that player might be just wanting to play it because they don't want to go backward and they feel like, they would be losing something. But really they are asking for way too much. They're asking for a huge advantage over everybody else, and it makes it incredibly difficult, near impossible for you to manage that situation unless everybody else is then going to be coming into your adventure at the same level they are. But if they want to play the same character and they want to level it back if you're playing at level 1, if it's a level 5 or 8 character and they want to play it and you're starting at level 5 or 8, it's not really going to be a problem. I don't worry about those sorts of things. I try not to get caught up in all the things that I've been told I should do as a dungeon master over the years. I only worry about the things that are really important nowadays. Oh man, okay, what do you got here, Caleb? Excellent presentation. How do you deal with players that want to ignore the adventure you have prepared? I have trouble with players staying engaged in the story. Okay, so Caleb, here's the thing. When you put your story together or your adventure, never get caught up in the events that are supposed to take place. And if the players, you should have had a session 0 and said, look, what sort of game are you interested in? And they should have told you. And you should have said, look, this is the sort of game or campaign I want to run or adventure. Are you interested? And those people who weren't interested shouldn't have been part of the group. And those people who were interested, stay with the group. That's the easiest way to deal with that. I'm going to be dealing with this very shortly. And I've said it before, have a session 0. Okay, make sure everybody's on board. If you're going to play the Curse of Strahd, make sure everybody's up for horror-themed vampires and the Curse of Strahd. If they're not, it's not the game for them. They can play in something else with somebody else, I have a tendency to throw in some real curly ones. So I'm right into whimsy. I don't have a problem with presenting something quite bizarre. I don't have a problem with presenting a situation which is absolutely outside of their scope and forcing them to run away just to see if they will. So I do a lot of different things. Okay, I don't know that I necessarily have a video on how to capture people who are ignoring you, but there's so many videos out there by the other Dungeons and Dragons channels that talk about how to make sure people stay engaged with you, and that is, tie in their adventure into your story if you can. And they should have built a character that is related in some way and will mesh well with the adventure you're going to run. If you're not really sort of at that level and you can't do that sort of thing, then you need to just say, this is the sort of adventure I want to run. Are you interested? Those people who want to play, great. Those people who don't, they leave. Morgaine the Crow, I think I got it right. I am DMing Strahd now. Thank you for that. Should I prepare more deeply on an area based on the Taroka predictions? No, not necessarily. The thing is, you're dealing with the Curse of Strahd is a sandbox. Your players can go anywhere, really. I mean, you can drive them in the direction you want them to go using the mist, but the reality is they could go literally wherever they want. So my suggestion to you is, by all means, you can use the Taroka deck to help shape the story, but it's the players who shape the story. You just are reacting to what they do. I think this is one of the things that Dungeon Masters forget, is you have an adventure, all you're reactive. You react to what the players do. The difference is that the players react to your villain or your adventure hook to begin with, but that is only at the very start of your campaign or adventure. Okay? Players are reactive only when you're starting your campaign. After that, it should be the other way round, the Dungeon Master reacting to the players. Okay. Fred, what do you got here? Yes, prepare more based on the fortune telling. All right. Well, Fred's got different advice for you. That's Fred Hubber, by the way, F Hubber. Is that Freighter? Freighter, how's it going? Great channel, Fred. Thank you. I appreciate you sharing your wisdom. I don't know. I mean, hopefully it is good wisdom. That's my experience. I haven't taken this from pie in the sky stuff. This is stuff I have literally done everything that I talked about today. Okay, everything I've done, and I've also talked to other dungeon masters who have used similar techniques. Okay, what do you got here? Bahaba. Another way to deal with the Curse of Strahd is to stake the deck for the fortune telling, so you can have things in a location you desire. Yeah, you can, but the chances are I think you'll find the players will want to go everywhere. If your players are anything like mine, they decided to leave Strahd alone, and they were just going to go and enlist everybody's assistance and explore everything and find every possible little morsel they could before they would take on Strahd, because I had Strahd kick their butt numerous times, and all sorts of havoc went down. So I scared them enough that they realised they needed to be careful. What else have we got here? Whew. I need another drink. I'm about to lose it. Hopefully I got your name right. Michelle, I'm preparing to DM for the first time with 5 kids. Oh my, Michelle, good luck. Curse of Strahd, everyone is excited. You are DMing for Curse of Strahd for 5 kids as a first time dungeon master? Oh my gosh. Good luck, Michelle. That is a hard adventure to run for a bunch of kids first time round. I could never do it. It would have driven me mad. Thank God for the Lost Mine of Thandelver and the Essentials kit, because those are a lot more gentle in terms of trying to run them. That's a hard adventure to run. I never understood why people insisted on using that adventure as their first adventure. If you're going to do it, you're going to do it. Certainly I would never recommend it myself. Just because it's one of the best adventures out there doesn't mean it's a good starter adventure. It's a very difficult adventure to get through. What else I got here? Curse of Strahd is a hard one for a first. Yeah, okay, so Hub is saying the same thing. Pear Sham, how's it going? Yes, you did make it. Joseph's happy, good, okay. What else we got here? Fred Live is the best. Well, Fred Live, I don't think you have Fred Live. I am melting, man. You probably can't see the wet and the sweat beading down my forehead, but it's happening. What do you got here, Michelle? Oh, I like the dark humour idea for Curse of Strahd. I'll watch out for that one. Yep, that'll be coming. When's that coming? Probably in about 2 weeks. The dark humour, I'm still working on it. So yeah, it's be coming in about 2 weeks. Today is a Dungeon Master guide or video, and then next week will be a player's guide or video, and then the following week I sort of keep switching them around each week, just so that everybody gets the sort of gets fed. Got to feed the players and the Dungeon Masters. Is that Schubert? Hi Schubert, hi Fred. What are your favourite role-playing games beside Dungeons and Dragons, if any? Yes, okay, I will tell you. I played Star Wars Saga, the role-play game, for quite a while. It's probably one of the major games that I really enjoyed. I have all the books. I ran that for quite a while. Then it got taken over by somebody else, and then it went off. I lost control of that situation completely. I won't go into it. It's not a great situation to talk about. Fate. So Fate is a very simple role-play game where you're using sort of plus-minus dice. You can also use six-sided dice to represent the fact that you can't buy the plus-minus dice, so you don't want to buy them because they're so expensive. So Fate. And then Bulldogs is another sort of space adventuring bounty hunter, freighter pirate sort of game, and it's very much a Fate game again. The only difference is it's called Bulldogs, and it's a bit more focused on a particular type of game, rather than Fate can cover lots of different types of games. What else have I played? I did a little LARPing, so live action role playing, running around in the forests and the bush with rubber swords and so forth, bashing people with them, or throwing bean bags, hacky sacks, coloured hacky sacks at people as spells, and so I did a lot of that. And then what other role play games have I played? I played the second version of Dungeons and Dragons, 3.5, 4, 5. There have been a couple of other adventures adventure type of games that I have been wanting to play. The Marvel roleplay game, I really wanted to play in that, but I never had a sort of an opportunity to do that. Those are the ones that I've played in. My brain is gone right now, so I might have forgotten something. There may be others that I just missed. I kind of started out with Hero Quest, which is a board game. I wouldn't really call it a roleplay game, but certainly gives you the idea of exploration, trap searching, fighting, and just looting stuff, right? So without the sort of role play aspect. But we didn't keep doing that for very long. I mean, you can only do it for so long before it sort of gets old. I got bored. I need another drink of water before I pass out. All right, okay, can I still see? I'm just... Cameron, what have we got here, Cameron? Have you heard of the RPG Ironsworn? No, I haven't. I've had a lot of people from different game systems try to approach me by email, trying to promote their products, but no, I haven't heard of that one. Yeah, so I can't weigh in on that particular RPG. Sorry. Persham. Palm the cards, then put them on top after the cut. Yeah, got a drink. I'm losing my voice. That's going to happen very shortly. Ahiro, how's it going, Ahiro? Ostrad can give some tips on how to use him in combat. Okay. On Stride, can you give some tips on how to use him in combat without outright wiping the party or just using feather blows? Okay, so I did a video on the Curse of Strahd, and the focus was Strahd himself and role-playing him. If you're wanting how to deal with Strahd in terms of combat, my advice to you is do not present Strahd alone. Strahd should be presented with minions, and often he will be way in the background, well protected by magic or various other things. Let somebody else deal with that sort of stuff. I used zombies, skeletons, Vistani, all sorts of different things, even vampire spawn. But I never put Strahd right in the front row until the players were ready to tackle him. When they made the move to strike at Castle Ravenloft, that is when there was a chance to sort of fight their way through the front line. I had many waves for them to deal with before they got to Strahd, and I think they used some sort of, I can't remember what it was. I think it was like a nuclear daylight bomb magic item, something like that. I can't remember exactly what it is, but when we read it, we were like, oh, well, they'll do it. So, yes. Okay, what do you got here? So, yeah, that's really my advice for you on that. I don't want to talk too much about that because I feel like that's probably going to come up again. I'll probably have to talk about it at some point. But, yeah, never use Strahd as he is written in the adventure on his own. Bad idea. What else you got here? 5 kids first time. Yeah, that's hard. We've played Lost Mine of Phandelver with my brother DMing. My middle name is Ambitious. Right, okay. So in other words, you're DMing for the first time, but that's not the first time these kids have played Dungeons and Dragons. That's a very different kettle of fish. Now, who can I point you towards with regard to the Curse of Strahd? I have done some videos on the Curse of Strahd, but I haven't done a huge amount. Who else can you go and check out that will give you some advice? Most of his advice, I feel, is for experienced dungeon masters, but we'll see how we go. So, now what's his name? The Lunch Break Hero. Okay, the Lunch Break Hero. I am subscribed to his channel. Go check out his channel. He has a few videos, not a lot, but he has some videos on the Curse of Strahd that might help you. Okay, they're usually on topics I haven't covered already. Most of my stuff is very generic rather than sort of spelled out in one area. I tried to make the stuff that was going to be the most useful straight away. What else have we got here? Stay hydrated, everybody. Yeah, I'm trying to. I am losing water fast. Okay. No, I got it. Lost Mine of Phandelver. Fred lives on the bottom of the earth. That's right. I live on the arse end of the earth, right under in the posterior section, right there. Well, not the South Pole, but pretty close. I'll see you, Joe. What do you got here? Hubba. One way to have Strahd show up and not wipe the party is to have him send in minions. Then just, yeah. Look, the first time my players encountered Strahd, he was not trying to kill them. He was actually trying to help them, which confused my players immensely. But I do that sort of thing. I was trying to convince them that Strahd was not a bad guy, while everybody else was telling them, my group, that Strahd was a bad guy and you should not trust him. So they were quite confused, and yet when they metagamed, because they knew that Strahd was the villain, but I always presented him as being somebody they could trust. Yes, he didn't do the the cackle and twirl his mustache sort of stuff. He forms out of the mist, laughs at the party, and then goes back into mist form and leaves. Yep, you can certainly do that. Pearsham, Fred, make a campaign and put it on Kickstarter. No, I don't have time. I do not have time to do that sort of thing. Making a campaign. See, here's the thing. Every time I make something that is home brewed, it's usually got a lot of the players' input. So it's not really my world or my creation. It's the group's creation. And therefore I've had lots of different sort of worlds come up from time to time, and sometimes they're really not my creation at all. Literally, I've had some of them named by the players. A hero, thanks. That will help a lot. Sorry for my grammar. No, don't worry about it. It's all right. I figured out what you were saying. You don't have to worry about that. People get too caught up in that sort of stuff. All right, Cameron. I've heard that reading an adventure backwards can help. I haven't tried that yet, though. Look, here's the thing. Some people will read the adventure backwards because all they want to do is know what happened at the end. And I mean, that can work, but honestly, you're dealing with Wizards of the Coast if you're using the 5e adventures, right? And most of their stuff has got no index, so you can't find anything easily. Things aren't necessarily laid out so you don't have to deal with a wall of text. So yeah, it doesn't always work out quite that way. I need one more drink and then I'm going. All right, I think we have had enough of a natter. It's interesting that we have talked so much about the Curse of Strahd today. Quite clearly people are going through withdrawal symptoms, and I need to probably deal with that at some point. That'll probably happen fairly shortly. I don't think it'll happen straight away, but fairly shortly we'll deal with something like that. So wherever you are in the world, whether it be the morning, afternoon, night, early morning, look after yourself, your family and your friends. And hey, till next time, keep rolling those 20s.